What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the video. I wanted to share something with you guys today. I got a letter from my bank, and I've been getting a lot of letters from these banks lately for some of the weirdest things. Like, I got a letter from the bank the other day about my mortgage payment going up, and that was very unexpected. And I ended up explaining to you guys the effects of real estate appreciation. Yes, it's great when your property value goes up in price or in value, your net worth increases. But the downside to that is your property taxes are increased when your property is assessed, and your homeowner's insurance is likely to go up, yada, 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 right? Now, thankfully, my HOA fee didn't go up this year, but it did go up 2 years ago by like $100 a year. So like less than $10 a month, but still, it's still an increase, right? And so we are feeling the effects of inflation. We are definitely feeling the effects of inflation. There's no doubt about it. And we haven't yet felt all of the impact of what Fed Chair Jerome Powell is doing and will continue to do to the economy with the raising of interest rates. But I got another letter from the bank, and the letter I got was totally different than what I've shared with you guys in the past. Now, it's always great to have an emergency fund, and I always stress how important this is. Now, me personally, I don't like leaving money in the bank that's not making money. You know, like if I leave money in the bank, it's usually because I got a checking account. It's for paying bills out of, bill pay, automatic, bill payments and stuff like that, because I automate my finances as much as possible because I don't have time to keep up with all this stuff. However, I have many different bank accounts at different banks to make sure that I'm fully FDIC insured, and so that I have diversification among all of my my holdings. Not just diversification in the stock market through ETFs, stocks, mutual funds, index funds, but I want diversification in the banking system as well. Well, I got a letter from the bank, and I wasn't expecting this because I actually log into the bank account twice a month. And with this particular, this was Wells Fargo, by the way. With this particular bank account, it receives an automatic deposit. Well, it's really an automatic transfer from one checking account into this savings account. And this transfer comes from Bank of America, and it goes into Wells Fargo like twice a month. So there's activity on the account. So I get this letter, and for the most part, I do paperless banking. So I always elect to not get the paper stuff in the mail because I don't want to keep up with all that. So I just download the PDFs and I store them safely, securely. Well, I got a letter from the bank, and it was from Wells Fargo. And because I don't really expect to get mail from them, I don't open the mail right away. So I got the mail. I think I might have went to New York, came back, letter's still sitting there. I'm like, whatever, I get to it. So I start cleaning off my desk one day, going through the mail, and I open up this letter from Wells Fargo. And I don't know why I don't have the letter with me. I should have had it with me so I could read it to you. But basically what the letter said was, your account has basically gone inactive. I'm thinking to myself, how did my bank account go inactive? I know we got some crazy stuff going on with the banks right now, but Wells Fargo is one of the larger of the four. Is one of the largest four banks in America right now. So I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure Wells Fargo didn't collapse, and I know I have activity going on the account. So how could the bank account possibly go inactive? Well, apparently, if you don't engage in certain types of activity on the bank account, they can shut your account down. And if you don't make certain types of transactions or certain types of activities on your bank account, they can basically shut your account down. So I had a certain amount of time to be able to respond before the next phase of steps happen with the bank. So I wanted to share this with you guys because sometimes you have accounts out there. Maybe it's got a small balance, $400 or $500 in there. You forgot about it. Who knows? This account actually had a substantial, and I wouldn't say substantial, it was less than $10,000 in there. But it's not an account that I think about that much. But I log into it twice a month just to make sure that the transfer goes through. And, I just monitor my transactions. But I thought it was weird. So I did a little bit of research to find out more about this particular situation. Evidently, I'm not the only person who has dealt with this. So I found an article, and it's talking about, what happens when you don't make any bank account transactions for more than a year. And basically, I didn't make any kind of transactions. Apparently, there's, because the transfers I was making were not counting as transactions. Anyway, so I had to log in and click on this button that said reactivate or something like that, and it reactivated my account. It reactivated my bank account, no problem. But it's like, well, what happens if you don't do that in time, right? So it says here, if you have a bank account, chances are you use it pretty often. Your checking account, for example, is where your checks might land, and you might also use your checking account to pay bills and withdraw cash. Now, if you have a savings account, you might use it less frequently, like myself. But ideally, you'll at least be making the occasional deposit, which I did. I was making the occasional deposit. So then it says, or you might have to take the occasional withdrawal to cover an unplanned bill like a home repair. But if you go more than a year without making any transactions on your bank account, what happens? It says that this is an unlikely thing to happen with your checking account, but let's just say you have a savings account at a separate bank from your checking account, and you let it sit there untouched. Or let's just say you have an old savings account with a small balance that you just simply forgot about. When you go too long without making bank account transactions, there could be consequences. So I want you guys to be aware of this. By the way, if you guys are new to the channel, please do your boy a favor, drop a like for the video, and also consider subscribing to the channel for more money news, more money content, passive income ideas, small home-based business ideas, money-making ideas, stocks, real estate. We talk about all of that on this channel. Make sure to subscribe and share this video with a friend. Matter of fact, share this video with everybody, because I can't be the only one who's going to encounter this. So when you go too long without making bank account transactions, there could be consequences. So it's important that you know your bank's rules. Evidently, I didn't know that bank's rules. When you go too long without making transactions in your bank account, it can become dormant. In that point, your bank might have the right to charge you an inactivity fee, even if the bank account is supposed to be free. It depends on the terms of your banking agreement. Meanwhile, once your account becomes dormant, your bank might opt to close your account altogether. Now, we've been hearing a lot about suspicious account closures at the banks. Now, at that point, if it has a means of contacting you or a current address for you on file, it should send you your balance. If not, your bank might turn your balance over to your state as unclaimed property. Now, here's the tricky thing, guys. There's no real broad rules that are dictating when a bank account becomes dormant. Now, at one bank, it might be at the 12-month period of inactivity that leads to that. But for another bank, it might be more or less time. So it's very important to know your bank's rules so that you don't. It's very important so you know your bank's rules so you don't end up in a situation where your account is closed, you're charged a fee, or you have to go chasing your money. So then it goes into all these different things that you can do to prevent your account from going dormant. Generally, all it takes to avoid a bank account becoming dormant is to make an occasional transaction. In the case that you have a savings account, for example, you could transfer a small amount like $10 into your account every single month to keep it active. I'm going to have to call bull on this because I had a transaction happening twice a month for more than a year with my Wells Fargo account, and they still flagged my account as dormant. This is wild. In the case of a checking account, you can set up a bill to be paid automatically out of the checking account every single month, yada, yada. Okay. Meanwhile, if you have a bank account, and again, Wells Fargo, they got to be different. Meanwhile, if you have a bank account, you don't use often and don't expect to use anytime soon, you may be better off actively closing it rather than waiting for the bank to do so for you. Anyway, yeah, so anyway, I just want to share this with you guys because this came as a surprise to me. And I know a lot of people, especially in the last 3 years, have bought a new house, bought a new condo, and their addresses have changed. So here's the deal, guys. If I didn't update my address on my bank account, they may not have been able to notify me. And I wouldn't want the bank to send a check to my old address that I don't live there anymore, number one. But number two, let's just say the bank sent a letter to where I used to live and I didn't respond to the letter. So now they can't, quote unquote, validate where I live. And then all of a sudden the bank's holding on my money and I got to fight to get my money back out the bank. So that would be a problem. So anyway, I know a lot of people moved, bought new houses, whatnot, maybe had job transfers. Log into your bank accounts today. Check your bank accounts and make sure that your address is current. That's all I'm gonna say. And make sure you share this video with a friend or a friend, a loved one, everybody, and make sure everyone else checks their bank account. Log into their bank account and verify that the address on file is the current address. Because if your bank sends you a letter and you don't get it, that could be a huge problem for you. Anyway, guys, hope you guys got some value out of this video. Do your boy a favor, drop a like, subscribe, and I'm gonna catch you on the next one. Be safe.